Hey, it's Jeff Hyman with Startup Therapist, where we focus on the people part of startups. And our guest today is Andy Cohen. Hey, Andy.
Hey, Jeff.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Very well. Andy is the head and the CEO and the founder of Caring.com, a startup that he created a few years back out of a clear market need and a personal need, and is now a division of a publicly held company, BankRate. Is that right?
That's right.
Great. So let me tell the audience a bit about you. And what we're going to focus on today is about building a healthy, vibrant culture. You've got 150 people that you've ramped to over the years, and we'll talk about doing that, especially in light of that kind of rapid growth and raising venture capital. And we'll also talk a bit about recruiting Rockstars. So Andy has been in and around the Valley for quite some time, a Stanford alum. And you were instrumental in the early stages of quite a few startups. Peapod, which is home delivery of groceries. You helped found and create Quicken.com, which was the first website for Intuit's Quicken business in personal finance. You were at Instill, which was a business-to-business food commerce company. And then you created Caring.com. And when was that you started Caring?
2007.
Okay, so you've been at it for quite some time. Heads down in the trenches, and you've raised some venture capital along the way as well.
Yeah, we raised $23 million from DCM, SplitRock, Shasta, and Intel Ventures.
Great. So A-tier investors. I know that the business was acquired last year, a successful exit to BankRate, which is a publicly held company, and you're still with the company, correct?
Yeah, we're now one of four BankRate divisions, growing nicely since the acquisition. And what's been great is they've let us run it as a standalone business within BankRate. So we've kept the same office culture team,
Great.
Which is one of the reasons I think the acquisition's gone so well.
So you've scaled to 150 people. Let's start with culture. How do you develop a startup culture? Maybe some of the mistakes you've made along the way, going from one guy in a Starbucks with some crazy idea to 150 people, well-funded. How do you create culture?
Well, I think people really want to be part of something bigger. They want to be part of a mission. And I learned that, I think, from Scott Cook at Intuit. You know, he always talked about revolutionizing personal finances. He didn't talk about EBITDA or sales growth. It was, how do you really help people? And Caring.com comes from a place where, you know, we were founded on a social mission of helping people who are caring for aging parents. I lost both my parents, which is why I started the company, to make it easier for people like me. And so everybody here is really here because they value our mission. So, getting that mission alignment has been critical for us, not only in recruiting, but really retaining people as well.
So you have something, again, your business is helping the sandwich generation, folks like me and you, care for our older, aging parents with resources and content. You've got a really personal connection, a personal story that employees can feel good about. I can imagine it would be tougher if you were selling some kind of B2B software or something that people weren't as emotionally connected to. Has that been a big part of your success in building the culture?
Well, it is easier for us because if you have lost a parent, you always carry that with you forever.
Yeah.
I've lost both my parents, and so being able to help people going through that, it really is meaningful. But I think you can make that, many companies could come up with a mission. And there's a wonderful, I'm sure you've read Chip Connolly's work, where he's got the Maslow's hierarchy of employee needs. It starts with job, then career, and at the very top of the pyramid is mission. And so, for us, it may be easier because we have a very clear mission, and it's one that really resonates with anyone who has an aging parent or grandparent. But I would argue that any company could find that.
Are there any unique things that you've done along the way to build that culture, to build the culture and cement people into the organization? Any unique perks or benefits or events or things that really tie people to the company?
Well, getting people closer to the consumers that are using the site. So if you visit our office, first of all, it looks like our website. It's bright. It's got fun colors. And we have customer quotes all over the wall. So people who have emailed us, we put some of those quotes up on the wall. Each week we send a highlight. Our social marketing manager, Denise, sends a highlight around of some of the best comments we've gotten from consumers. So we really get to feel it. We listen to calls on a regular basis, so we're listening to what people are going through. But really, reminding people why we're doing what we're doing, why the website Caring.com exists, and then sending them positive affirmation that we really are helping people.
So you've got actual people on the phones talking to consumers, and you're able to use those recordings and voices.
Yeah, so Caring.com is we're sort of like the TripAdvisor for senior care. If you need to find assisted living or memory care for mom or dad or grandparent, you can come to Caring.com, read the reviews, book a tour.
I see.
Or speak to one of our family advisors. We have 100 family advisors who are trained to help people find the right community that meets their budget and geographic needs. We'll book appointments for them. We'll match them with 3 or 4 communities and then help them navigate the process.
Now, you're based in Silicon Valley, which is...
We are headquartered in San Mateo, just south of San Francisco Airport.
The Bay Area is experiencing just a huge resurgence and hiring boom. How have you managed to drive retention of employees? What types of things have you learned can work when there's always a shiny object across the street or a startup that can afford to pay a bit more than you? It's got to be more than just about money. What have you been able to do?
Well, it starts in sort of recruiting and hiring. So making sure that you're bringing people that are coming for the right reason, right? If you wanted to arrive the next, the next hot technology, you wouldn't be coming to us. But if you want to work for a place that's got really good technology, smart people, and a social mission, then we're high on that list. So we've done well attracting people who care about the social mission, and we've also tended to do well. We skew a bit older, so we're getting people who have done well in their career, and they said, boy, I want to work at a place that's really nice, that really I can feel good about, and also, is a Ruby shop that uses agile process that is doing cool stuff, but having both of those together has been really powerful. Okay,
so next question is, how do you protect a culture after an acquisition? So a larger company, a public company, you have the good fortune of a great exit, investors are happy, but now they're out of the way. How do you make sure that culture stays kind of magical?
Yeah, and we've been very lucky that we have a great owner in BankRate. They've grown largely through acquisition. They're very good at acquisitions, and their model has been to really keep the teams and the culture of the companies they've acquired, and especially in this case where they're in a new vertical, senior care. They mostly play in mortgages and insurance and credit cards. They've done a great job putting packages together to keep everyone, and they've also done a great job of letting us continue to run the company. So it feels like Caring, small thing, like we still use our Caring email addresses. It's very powerful that people still feel like they're part of Caring. They didn't change their reporting relationships of anyone but me. Yeah. And so it's been really nice for people to feel like they're still working at Caring.
Got it. Were these things that you discussed and agreed upon up front, or were you kind of nervous going into that kind of exit process?
Oh, totally nervous going into it, and didn't even think to discuss those. I just figured, they'll have our way with us,
right?
And hopefully it won't be so painful. But it's been a pleasure, and I'm a year and a half into it, and it's really still having fun.
Great.
Because they've not only left us alone, they've given us, they're smart guys that have helped us grow the company. We've doubled every metric since the acquisition: revenue, headcount, profitability. And they're very good about running these businesses. So they've given us a lot of ideas and helped us grow.
Great. Let's talk about recruiting. So you've hired 150. You got 150 people on board now. Presumably some have left along the way. So you've hired even more than that. What have you learned about the key things to look for in hiring Rockstars for a startup?
Yeah, so what I look for, first of all, is I'm always looking for some personal verification. So, I'm on LinkedIn constantly figuring out how I'm connected to that person, how I know that person, so I can find someone that's actually worked with that person. Because I do know that, it's a big risk, and even with all that, you're still, you're getting, 60% if you're lucky. So finding a personal connection, definitely making sure there's a match to what their vision is, to what our vision is, and then just knowing that first month is really a trial period. Are they gonna add value and fit or not? And then I think we've gotten smarter about, if not, figuring it out quickly.
Have you been able to pin down certain innate characteristics or almost DNA that makes people the perfect fit for an early stage company that's going to go through so many changes and so
so
much uncertainty.
So for sure, people that have worked for us, we don't try to hire people out of big companies because it's such a difference coming from a big company to a startup, from a process standpoint, from a political standpoint, that we have learned that we don't do well hiring people out of big companies. For the last 8 years, we've probably hired 400 people, and the ones that haven't worked out predominantly are ones that have come from big companies and have been stuck in some process or way of looking at things that is very different from us.
Got it. So you will no longer hire people unless they have a smaller company experience.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's enough startups and enough people that have gone to the startups that there's a big pool along that.
Got it. How do you know when you've made
it? It's funny because we've got some pretty good processes in place at Carry, and people are always surprised when they get here, and I think pleasantly that we've got a lot of the planning and analytical processes that they'd worried startups wouldn't have. So being a well-managed startup, you're sort of the best of both worlds. You're agile and you're able to move quickly, but you can also have some good, we have a very formal prioritization process and a good Scrum and Agile development process that are great. Got it.
How do you know when you've made a mistake? How long do you give an individual time before you say this is not going to work?
Yeah. So it's different by each person, but again, we'll try to make a quick decision. If someone's not working out really quickly, try to figure it out, and not. There's a sunk cost fallacy. It doesn't matter how long you spent recruiting and how much money you paid the recruiter. You want to end the relationship for them and for you quickly.
Yeah, got it. You mentioned recruiters. Along the way of hiring these 300-400 people, aside from recruiters, what other tools have you found most valuable in finding employees?
Yeah, so most of our rock stars have not come through recruiters. We've got a lot of great people off of Craigslist, but mostly it's friends of friends. So the woman who's our CEO, Karen Castle, she's a rock star. She joined us 3 years ago. It took me about 8 months to find her because I was looking for someone that was a strong performance marketer, that cared about her social mission, that would be a good fit for the team. And I must have met 30 people for coffee and lunch, and when they weren't a fit, said, do you know anyone who would be a fit? And got to Karen from a guy in my CEO's group's friend's wife who wasn't a fit but was interested in, but liked us and said, you got to talk to my ex-boss.
Wow. Amazing.
And so it was an 8-month process and literally 30 people.
Would you say over the years of building the business, what percentage of your time have you devoted to recruiting, culture development, the people aspect of the business, if you were to add it all up into a pie chart?
Yeah, so in the early days, a lot of the time recruiting. I think now I've spent a lot of time on culture. My team, kids may have been the company cheerleader, but what I've learned is, if you're running a company, everybody keys off your mood and what your facial expression. Yep. If I come in tired, they think there's something wrong with the company. And people ask me that, hey, what's going on? You look horrible. And it's like, well, actually, I was just up all night and had too much to drink last night. But you've got to always be positive, and you've got to do a lot of walking around, just checking in with the people. So I think my time shifted because we're not doing as much hiring now from recruiting to just making sure people are happy and focused.
Got it. Last question is around compensation design. So, Silicon Valley and startups are interesting because it's just impossible to pay top of market. There's always someone that can afford to pay more. So how do you think about that when you're designing compensation or deciding how much to offer to somebody? Do you try to be at a certain percentile? How do you get information about what is market for a particular role?
So, we have some of that. Now that we're part of BankRate, we have more of that. But I've always found that people know their market value and they know what they want to make. And so if you meet somebody, the cost of their salary versus, it's almost immaterial whether the salary's up or down 10, 20,000 relative to them having an impact on your business. So I always I turn it back on them and say, hey, what do you want to make? What's going to make you happy? And assuming it's within, a range, that's all I'm worried about, because I don't think the salary is the driver. It's not the cost of the person. The cost of the person is, are they going to add value to the company? Are they going to work well with other people? And so, and people usually know what they want.
So it's a pretty flexible approach in terms of where you're going to wind up with someone.
I think I think it has to be. I think the big companies fall into this trap. They think it has to be, consistent, but life's not consistent, and people come from different places. So if you want to get the best talent, I think you need to be flexible.
While we're on the topic, how about titles?
Same thing. We just hired a guy that we're looking to run, product and content, and we asked him what he wanted his title, and titles are cheap and great. I mean, not crazy. We don't have goofy titles because we do, we do interface with a lot of other companies, so it's nice to have traditional titles. But within that, I think you've got to be flexible, and that's how you get the best talent. I mean, if you're flexible on title, you're flexible on comp, you're trying to find a good match. That other stuff is really overhead.
Got it.
If they fit in a band, who cares?
Got it. Well, Andy, this has been great. 15 minutes. We've covered funding, recruiting, culture development, compensation design. If people want to learn more about caring.com, that's obvious where they go, but how can they learn more about you or potentially becoming a customer?
Yeah, well, if you or a friend, we're all getting older. If you or a friend are caring for an aging parent, I would encourage you to visit Caring. You'll get answers to questions with people you can talk to, and we could really save you a lot of headache along the way.
Great. Thank you, Andy. Really useful stuff, and we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jeff. Great talking to you.